Good evening. It's 6:30. Members of council are assembled when you're ready to begin.
Thanks very much. Good evening, everybody. I'd like to call to order this meeting of Saugeen Shores Council for the 24th of November, 2025. Welcome all members, everyone in the gallery this evening, and everyone watching via the live stream. We're glad everybody is with us. Second item on the agenda is the land acknowledgement, and the Vice Deputy Mayor has that this evening.
Yep, thank you, Mr. Mayor. We acknowledge that we are meeting on the traditional lands and treaty territory of the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, which consists of the Chippewas of Saugeen and the Chippewas of Nawash unceded First Nation. We understand this land holds immense significance to the people of Saugeen Ojibwe Nation. We appreciate those who live and work alongside us today and who continue to the traditions of their ancestors as stewards of the land we are privileged to inhabit. We thank them for the contributions they have made in both caring for the land and in shaping this community. We commit to truth and reconciliation, to acknowledging the truth about what happened to Indigenous peoples because of colonization, and to reconciliation, which begins with each and every one of us. As a local government and public organization, we are dedicated to learning about Indigenous culture, to fostering a better relationship with First Nations and their people, and we commit ourselves to actions that move us forward on a path to healing along with the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation.
Thank you very much. Third item on the agenda is disclosure of pecuniary interest. Any member have one of those they'd like to declare at this time? Seeing none, of course, you can do that anytime if you need to. We don't have any additions, deletions, or amendments, so we're on to adoption of minutes. And I have a resolution that council adopt the minutes of the regular council meeting of November 10, 2025 as presented. Is there a mover and seconder? Moved by Councilor Davinsky, seconded by the Vice Deputy Mayor. Questions or comments to the minutes? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried. Okay, so now we are on to the open forum, and we do have a few requests for the open forum this evening. So I'll just remind folks who have signed up for the open forum that council has allotted 3 minutes for each open forum delegation and a total of 15 minutes for the open forum. So we should have enough time to work everybody in, but that relies on each of you to stay under that 3 minutes. So I'd really appreciate it if everybody can keep it under that number, and we'll get everybody in. So without any further ado, then, we will get into these. And the first open forum presentation will be from Adam Sachs, and he's here to talk to us about the Master Recreation Report. Mr. Sachs, whenever you're ready, sir.
Just want to thank you for your time tonight. I do appreciate the mayor, councillors, and members of the staff of Saugeen Shores for hearing me tonight. I'm just here to express some deep concerns regarding our arena sports fields needs and assessments and the accompanying staff report recently presented to council. Specifically, its recommendations concerning the closure of any baseball diamonds. In our community, the study is submitted contains some factual inaccuracies. It has a lack of certain data, and it's possibly going to make it impossible for you to accept it. And to put plainly, the report acknowledges this, and it lacks the data, One of our most glaring issues is the representation of local diamond usage and the demand that we have here in Saugeen Shores. The Saugeen Shores Minor Baseball Association has experienced extraordinary growth in recent years, nearly doubling in our size. Both the baseball and softball programs now serve more children than ever, and we offer high quality recreational, competitive, and opportunities across all age groups. This is a thriving and expanding program that delivers meaningful physical, social, and developmental benefits for local youth. This report's analysis fails to reflect this reality. It not only underestimates and underrepresents the participation levels, but it also ignores the trajectory and continued growth in our town. Any claim that this demand for ball diamonds is declining is simply wrong. We urge you to track statistics before any decision is made. I will allow our scheduler to speak a little bit more on statistics here in a bit, but I'd like to highlight our organization's ability that we host tournaments, games, and practices on all of the diamonds that we currently have in our town. In 2025, we hosted 11 tournaments. We're representing 342 games of these tournaments. Most of our tournaments here are hosted on Lamont Sports Park. However, we utilize some other diamonds on occasion with the use of Cameron diamonds, Beaner, and Lakeview. Sometimes weather and setbacks incur spillover of diamond usage from Lamont to these other diamonds. My partner here in our scheduling will talk about some practice times that were not directly reflected in the data collected in this report. The facility rental data used in this study paints an incomplete, misleading picture. The report does not incorporate extensive practice schedules that regularly occupy our diamonds. The usage is essential in delivering quality program and development for our kids. Anyone familiar with our fields knows that practices alone account for a significant number of diamond hours. Excluding this data in this report is just a mess for you to make a decision on.
So we have passed over 3 minutes, Mr. Sachs. So if you could wrap up, that'd be appreciated.
Yes. I recently had a productive conversation with Kristen Schreider, and I hope her words can be fulfilled with a new facility rental policy with the town to be instituted and having the needs of youth sports put first and paramount. Council has a great responsibility to ensure that decisions are made on complete and full information. I urge that you consider this for minor ball, and any implementation of any of the recommendations in the recreational field study be considered with factual data and all-encompassing data that we can provide. We need to recognize the growth and demands for baseball and softball, and our facilities need to be kept. That's it.
Thank you very much. Okay, so now we'll move on to our second delegation, which is from Mr. Eric Dunn, and he's also here to speak to us about the Master Recreation Report. Mr. Dunn, when you're ready, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. Just before I begin, I do have some supporting documentation. I'm not sure if it's allowed to pass that out to share that, or?
You can just send it to the clerk after your presentation.
Okay. So basically, I'll start off by saying I have the same concerns as our President Adam Sachs. The report, the data in the report is simply inaccurate. And as the schedule for minor baseball, I'm intimately familiar with the statistics that go into scheduling for the various teams, boys, girls, as well as all the tournaments. The usage allocation in the submitted Master Recreation Report shows a utilized percentage of 0% at Cameron, 3% at Beaner 1, 13% at Beaner 2, 7% at Jubilee, 20% at Lakeview at the trailer park, and only in the mid-40s for all Lamont Sports Park diamonds. What I can say to that is that in 2025, before the season began, I prepared a report and submitted it to Mr. Frank Burrows prior to his retirement that detailed a week-by-week breakdown of what diamonds were used and in Saugeen Shores for minor baseball. And starting the first week of May, we're all rep and select teams, the higher performance teams around the diamond, to a peak in mid-July where we had peak usage rates of 97% practice slots that were allocated by the town, as well as 78 to 79% peak usage rates at Lamont Sports Park for game times. These statistics, this gross discrepancy in these statistics concern me because this information was passed along previously to town staff to help assist in making an informed decision. Was also communicated at the different meeting with the town with all the different user groups with the contractor who was procured to produce this report. I'd also like to highlight the tournaments that we have as well at Lamont Sports Park. As Adam said, we have at least 11 or 12 tournaments again this year. Every single Saugeen Shores allocated diamond on all of those weekends is utilized. We have teams coming from Sault Ste. Marie, Ottawa. We've had inquiries from Detroit for teams that want to come to our tournaments because they're so well known. Last year, we had a record for a 20-team 9U Select tournament, which again had teams coming from all over Ontario. These teams all need spots to stay. They bring an economic benefit to the town. Every weekend, all hotels are full, both in Saugeen Shores, Kincardine, Walkerton, Owen Sound. We have teams this year that are already complaining that they don't have a spot to stay. I have a sample, I'll pass this on to the clerk, but a sample of our schedule that shows the different colored times represent, which is hard to see obviously, but the different colored times representing all the games in a typical week in Saugeen Shores. And typically we will have only about 7 to 8 rainout spots available, which we'll use to rebook games, which traditionally over the year we'll have to utilize those spots to rebook those. So, and this is with this current schedule, we already are projecting more kids in this year. We already are at our max amount of diamonds with the current usage, and that's with Lamont 5 and 6 coming online this past year for softball, as well as the new hardball diamond.
So we have passed over 3 minutes, Mr. Dunn, so if you could wrap up, please.
Thank you. Bottom line, I would really appreciate council reconsidering this report. It's well overdue, but we need to make sure we have facts, the correct facts. Our program is very well known. We have kids asking to come play here from other jurisdictions that we just simply can't support for various reasons. And we're well known when we go away to tournaments, when they see Saugeen Shores, people come up to me and say, oh, we're not excited to play your teams, because they know we have a world-class program facilities here. So please, I implore you to please look at the facts and make an informed decision before taking potentially diamonds away from children. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So now we'll move on to Ms. Laura Cranenberg, and Ms. Cranenberg, whenever you're ready, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members. It's nice to see many of you again. I'm here as a concerned stakeholder, the former president of SSMBA, a current coach and a parent of kids who are playing ball in this town and many other sports. While we have great appreciation for the investments in Parks and Rec that you've made over the past several years, I think it would be remiss if we didn't reconsider this particular needs assessment. I feel that this building of Lamont Sports Park met our deficit from 2016, but as we all know, that's 10 years ago, and the growth we've had since then is going to put us in another deficit if you start taking away diamonds. So that's our primary concern. I echo the issues with the data. I'm a data person, as most of you know, and the fact that the practice times were not included in this, to me, is a gross overlooking of data, potentially manipulation of statistics, if I'm going to be a pessimist, but frankly, just really irresponsible of the vendor, Monteith Brown. They are not new to municipal reports. They're not new to Saugeen Shores. They were doing reports when I worked here, and frankly, I had higher expectations of this report. Okay, my second point, the other thing in the assessment that I thought needed to be corrected was that there is mention of the WOBA and the OBA, and those are only our governing bodies for hardball. There is no mention of our female softball league at all, which is actually the equivalent in size as our male hardball program. So that needs to be updated. We have 3 to 4 governing bodies for our female softball program, and they're not mentioned anywhere in this report. Like I said, these diamonds were built to serve our deficit, and if you take more away, I think you're just putting yourself into another Parks and Rec deficit that obviously with a new pool, new diamonds, we're trying to avoid. We're trying to fill that gap. If you start removing parkland in that space, you're going to put yourself in another deficit. My feeling is that we should never be closing these diamonds until you have other ones to fulfill that need. We can never get the parkland back. In-town parkland is invaluable, as we all know. If you need to build a new fire hall, if you need to do other things, I understand there's conflicting priorities. Obviously, I'm well aware of that as being your previous asset manager. But there is other land available to do those things, and we can never get in-town parkland back. We know part of the plan here in Saugeen Shores for the past decade was to intensify within town for our housing, which we've done. We've seen that kind of building, which means there's more people in the same square footage in town. They need more recreation space, more parkland. Taking that away cannot be recovered at a later date. You cannot recover it. It should not be going to residential, commercial, or industrial uses. That is my opinion, and I believe it to be true. I'll stop there. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. All right, so next we have Melissa McKinnon. Ms. McKinnon, whenever you're ready, ma'am.
Hello. I'm short, sorry. I'm Melissa. I am the ice scheduler for Saugeen Shores Minor Hockey Association, and I'm here also to talk about the arena sports field needs assessment. I do believe, as with baseball that's here, that it is grossly misrepresenting our needs. I'm new to this position. I only just took it. And I believe not having the actual data from this season is really important. So we start at 4 p.m. most nights, which is very difficult for most parents. I've heard complaints about it. We have no gaps. There is no half an hour here, hour there where we don't have kids on the ice. We are using 100% of our allotment that is given to us. We also have large teams. So there's been lots of complaints this year about the size of our teams to try and get more all the kids on the ice. And we also have run into the problem with our U9s. They are supposed to be going to full ice in January, and we don't have the ice to do that with them. So they are still half ice, which is hindering their development. The other concern I have is for the adult leagues not being accounted for in this report. It's just majorly minor hockey and figure skating. However, when I did my calculation, The adult participation, so Winterhawks, the Gulls, the adult leagues count for 30% of the ice allotment. They have to be included in this report. So I think we need to relook at those facts as well. And then finally, I just wanted to touch base, kind of like what baseball did, about putting a price on keeping kids happy, healthy, and engaged and out of trouble. Minor sports, not just hockey, strengthens our community. It gives youth an outlet. They create belongings. They build our future leaders. If we don't address this lack of ice, up to next year, as soon as next year, we will have to put a cap on how many kids can register for minor hockey. So now we're leaving out kids not being able to play hockey, not because they don't want to, not because their parents can't afford it, because we don't have the space. And that shouldn't be a reality in this growing family-focused community like Saugeen Shores. That's all I've got.
Thank you very much. And finally, we have Mr. Connor Yorth, also here to talk to us about the Master Recreation Plan. Mr. Yorth, whenever you're ready, sir.
Hi, good evening. I want to start by saying thank you to everyone in this community who has had anything to do with the Lamont Sports Park project. The hard work by everyone for us to have this facility does not go unnoticed, and I want to say how much we, the users, truly appreciate it. I have been the men's slow pitch president for 7 years and held a position on the executive for 3 years prior to that. I sat on the Lamont Sports Park ad hoc committee, the Lamont Sports Park fundraising committee, and I have been a non-parent coach in minor baseball and hockey for a combined 6 years. I'm happy to announce that our community will be reviving our past senior hardball team starting next year, the Port Elgin White Sox. Due to the amount of interest we've had, we will also be starting once a week 4-team rec league that will allow members of our community to get out and play the game they love in a less competitive style. Aside from all that, I stand here as a parent who will be heavily involved with baseball for the next 20 years in our community. I can't express it how disappointing this assessment is to hear. The quote, growth is not something you force, it's something that happens when you remove what stunts it, comes to mind. Why stun our growth by the removal of diamonds without building more? I know the idea of repurposing diamonds was part of the 2020 Lamont Sports Park business plan, but what wasn't accounted for was the growth that has happened. The Lamont Sports Park was also supposed to have a total of 10 diamonds by the end of phase 3. Zero decisions should be made on this inaccurate report. For example, the projections. The 2016 master plan projected by 2031, we would have a total of 1,368 users. This report states by 2036 that we're going to have 2,000 users. As I stand here tonight at the end of 25, we will have roughly 1,900 users with even more users looking to play. As president of men's slow pitch, I have always put minor ball first. From 23 to 26, I have given away 54% of my diamond allocation times to them. I've adjusted our own league down from 24 games per season to 18, and at the same time, I have grown our league to the largest it has ever been. We have adjusted to align with the growth of minor baseball, as we should. It is my goal to have 100% usage for 26. We are not allowed to book games at Cameron, so why are you presenting data as factual when we have restrictions on where we can play? There's a wait list to get into our leagues. There are wants for greater number of games. There are other adult leagues such as co-ed who run in the fall, who do want to run all summer. The want is there for more, the want for more usage is there. Cancellations with minor baseball or even adult sports happen. The thought of always having 90 to 100% usage is just unreasonable, especially at the minor level. Baseball is a 4-month sport during the summer. House league teams don't have the commitment as rep teams. Families go on vacation and miss sports. You need to have empty applications for cancellations and for rescheduling rainouts for minor baseball. Adult baseball is being combined for 26 under one umbrella. We are starting the Saugeen Shores Adult Baseball Association, and we'll be able to work together to maximize use, and we'll be working alongside minor baseball to help continue the growth of their program. Field of Dreams said it best. If you build it, they will come. You guys built it, and now look what it has done for the growth of our baseball community. Now we are a baseball destination. We are being pursued by the highest level of minor and adult leagues in Ontario to host tournaments. Why in the world would we not continue this ride that we're on instead of killing it by removing diamonds? I would suggest to council that all ball user groups are able to provide more accurate information to town staff for a more accurate report so that the report can be amended to reflect actual usage. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so that brings us to the end of our open forum. And so now we're going to move on to delegations, and we have 2 delegations this evening. Let's remind the delegations that council has allotted 10 minutes for each of our delegations. So we'd appreciate it if you'd hold to those timelines for us. So our first delegation actually that was on the agenda has been canceled for this evening. And that's the Southampton Tennis Club. So we're going to move on to 8.2, which is from the Port Elgin BIA and delegation on their 2026 budget. Take it away, Lisa.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council, staff. Pleasure to see you again. I'm here representing the Downtown Port Elgin BIA. I'm sure you were looking forward to seeing one of our board members. Unfortunately, they were all occupied this evening. I will, however, read our chair, Pierre Denini's comments, and then I'll rip through the report. Downtowns are valuable community centers. We used to always assume they would be here forever. If you look at similar towns in Ontario, that is certainly not the case. We are lucky to have a vibrant downtown in Port Elgin, but we must
Lisa, could
never,
you just make sure to speak into the microphone there a bit better? Thank you.
never take that for granted. We must listen to the members, and our members are our commercial property tenants and the commercial property owners. And we must also evolve to fit the times. We look forward to making the Downtown Port Elgin BIA work for everyone so the entire community can enjoy our downtown year round. And that's from Pierre. We've talked before about what the BIA is, and it's in the report. The BIA really has two key pillars. One of them is promotion and events. We drive feet to the street. That's our mandate. Feet to street. It's up to the stores to get them in the doors. And it's another of our mandates to make it a beautiful place visually, so that it's a joy to work there. It's a joy to visit there, to come for a stroll. So that's what the BIA, every BIA is about. Financial report. I've got a brief overview, 2025 versus 2026. In 2025, we raised our levy. In fact, we doubled it from $33,000 to $66,000. There was also a reserve. In 2025, we had expenses of $83,000, so there was some carryover. And in 2026, we are suggesting the same budget, the same levy, and we intend to build upon the programs that we have established. 2024, the Port Elgin BIA came back with some programs in a light way. In 2025, we built on those same programs and events. 2026, we want to formalize things a little bit from the top down. So we now that we have our, what I like to say, fully functioning board, Councillor Halpin asked me, what would that be exactly? And I said, we now have a chair, we have a treasurer, we have a promotion and event chair, we have a streetscape chair, and we have another member at large. And of course, we have Deputy Mayor Huber, who is our council rep. So that means we have a fully functioning board. Our chair is Pierre Denini. Our treasurer is Stephen Harris of Rosina's. Our streetscape chair is Melissa Good from Casual Corners and Mensch. And our co-promotion and event chairs are Melissa Good and Melissa Pettigrew from Turtle Crossing. We also have Jennifer Lamont, who has opened her real estate office downtown. This is great. This means we can, as a group, as a board, hammer down what we'd like to do for downtown Port Elgin. And to that end, 2026, we hope to develop a strategic plan, a formal strategic plan. Not necessarily a formal plan cut in stone that we would not deviate from, but something that will guide the activities of the BIA for the next 3 to 5 years. We'll also be formalizing our memorandum of understanding between the BIA and the town with the help of Amanda Monahan, who has been such a great asset to us at the BIA and such a huge help and is a joy to work with. We meet monthly. Our streetscape and beautification highlights. We added some new street art this year. We started that last year with great success. We put in a triptych in the Rosina's Alley. This year we put in a mural by local artist Emily Darlington. Emily was born and raised in Port. She's no longer here, but she came back to paint that beautiful blue heron on the wall at Rosina's. We put another larger mural, a printed version of one of Emily's paintings in the alleyway at 613 Godrich Street. It's called the Pollinators. And this is a great way to put large-scale art on a wall without impinging on the integrity of an actual wall. They take 3mm aluminum, print it with vinyl, screw it in. It's great. If there's damage, if it has to come down, it can be unscrewed, moved, changed, reinstalled. Holiday decorations, we went big at Coulter Parkette this year with the cut tree, with lights in the existing trees. We purchased a few additional illuminated ornaments that are at the Godrich end of Coulter Parkette. And it really does look quite charming and Christmassy down there. In terms of promotions and events, in April, we had our Easter egg hunt at Coulter Parkette. In June, as I said, we had art in the alley to reveal the mural by Emily. And we also had a showcase of some other local artists. And we intend to do that again for year 3. In August, we had the Port Elgin Street Dance. We picked up on the amalgamation celebration of 2025, and we had a paid ticketed event at Coulter Parkette. There were 600 people there, 3 bands, beer garden, food trucks. It was fabulous. November, last week, we had Shoppers Night, and something new last week, we had a little Christkindl market. Shauna Harvey, our farmers market manager, said, oh, I can put a market in there. And she got 20 of her vendors. We had a little market in Coulter Parkette. We had Santa. We had a local dance school dancing. Mayor Charbonneau came and lit up our tree, as he always does. And we had free hot chocolate. We had horse and wagon rides. It really was a delightful evening. Starting at 6:30, and then people went and shopped and shopped and shopped. By all accounts, it was a very successful night in Port Elgin. Our farmers and artisan market, you heard about that when I was here last, but it was a great year. We're looking forward to 2026. The move has been good in terms of being able to grow the market physically, and we expect to be adding maybe 5, possibly 6 more permanent vendors next year. So in summary, I'd like to say on behalf of our board, independent businesses are the backbone of this community, of the economy. They drive innovation, they create jobs, they foster unique local character. Unlike larger corporations, these businesses often reinvest a significant portion of their earnings back into the town. In fact, it's approximately 66 cents of every dollar stays in Port Elgin that's spent in one of our independent businesses. They provide personalized services, building strong relationships with their customers, and offer diverse products that reflect the needs and preferences of our community. The downtown Port Elgin BIA appreciates these qualities and how they add to the character of the town, and we look forward to fostering and growing these relationships in coming years. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there questions or comments from members? Councilor Davinsky.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you to Lisa. Lisa, what are the boundaries of the Port Elgin?
On Godrich Street, basically from Ralph's to the old cinema.
Okay, and I know there was talk of expanding that to get out to concession 10.
We put that on hold, Councillor Davinsky, for the time being. We really want to get downtown BIA rocking and rolling. We want to really improve our engagement amongst the businesses. Now that we've got our board, we really want to bring our businesses in and our business owners in a more engaging way, and have them participate on our committees and have a little more input into what we're doing, a lot more input into what we're doing and how we're doing it. So we've decided to focus there for the time being. At some point, we likely will be right back here talking about boundary expansion.
Okay, just a comment, Mr. Mayor. I love, well, full disclosure, I'm a member of the Southampton BIA, but I love the way the Port Elgin BIA has come to be in the past in the past year. And with two strong BIAs, it means we can do more things together. And all of a sudden, the BIAs become Saugeen Shores. I don't think we'll ever lose the Port Elgin and the Southampton, but there will be things, I think, that we can do as the bigger community.
In fact, next week, there is our first cooperative event, and it's going to be, it's a Christmas wish list sip and shop. So I don't mean to sexualize this. Women will go out shopping, pick up a wish list, write out what they want, what size it is, where it can be got, take it home and say, here, honey. It takes all the guesswork out. Then honey can go shopping on December 3rd, pick up the goods, take it out to 3 Sheets, have a free beer on the BIAs and get complimentary gift wrapping. So yes, that's our first cooperative event.
See how I segued into that?
I appreciate that.
Clever.
I
Thank you,
appreciate-
Mr. Mayor.
Figured out how we can all get a free beer.
That's right.
Councillor Halpin.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you. The downtown certainly is all sparkling with your decorations at Coulter Parkette and that. And I just want to thank you for the work of the BIA. And we do have a vibrant downtown, and I'm confident with your leadership and everyone you have there now, it will continue to be that way. And you maybe just made Christmas shopping easier for me.
I sure hope so.
Absolutely.
Shop early, shop often.
Councillor Grace.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks, Lisa, for the presentation, and the sip and shop sounds like a great idea. Brilliant, actually. I want to just thank you and to thank all of your board members and members who are participating, because it's important for us to keep in mind that they are volunteers. They are very busy people who have businesses to run. And on top of that, they are putting their time into making our BIAs successful and thriving. So if you could take that back to them, thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Grace. I absolutely will take that back to them.
Thank you. Are there further questions from members? Well, thanks again, Lisa. We really appreciate all your work. I have to say, the Port Elgin Shoppers Night on Friday night was probably, I think it was the most successful one I've ever been to. I've been to a lot of Shoppers Nights, and there was a lot of people in the parkette, but a lot more importantly, a lot of people in the stores, right? It was really, I have to think the business owners did a lot of business that night and really got a great chance to profile their businesses to a lot of folks in the community. So anyway, it was a great event, just like all the events that you put on. So we appreciate all of your work and thank you for it.
Thank you
for
so
your
much.
presentation tonight. So our second delegation this evening is from the Canadian Federation of University Women, and they're here to speak to us about the National Day of Remembrance and Action.
Good evening, Mayor Charbonneau, members of council, staff, CFUW members, and fellow citizens of Saugeen Shores. My name is Judy Moyer, and I'm here to speak on behalf of the 107 members of the Canadian Federation of University Women Southport, or CFUW. Thank you for the opportunity to address the council today. Last year, our delegation, led by Odette Bartnicki, presented to council in support of the motion put forward by Councillor Cheryl Grace that Saugeen Shores declare intimate partner violence an epidemic. The council's leadership in passing this motion sends a clear message that this is not just an individual issue, but one that affects women, children, families, and our whole community. Saugeen Shores stands strong with over 106 municipalities who have also declared that intimate partner violence is an epidemic. Statistics Canada indicates that the rates of intimate partner violence have increased from 2018 to 2023 in all regions of Canada. In 2021, the rate of gender-related homicide in Canada is 2.5 times greater in rural and northern areas compared to urban centres. And according to the Ontario Association of Interval and Transition House, as of October 25, there have been 40 femicides reported across the province of Ontario since November 24. The numbers have remained relatively unchanged over the years, but children have also been killed by fathers. Indigenous women are killed 12 times more often than non-Indigenous women and are 16 times more likely than white women to be missing or murdered. 2 young women from Saugeen First Nation have been missing for 17 years. and 2 others were reported missing in 2024 and 2025, but thankfully were found safe. While factors such as geography or ethnicity can impact some groups more than others, gender-based violence occurs in all communities, cultures, and faith groups at every age and in every socioeconomic group. Saugeen Shores police statistics reveal a concerning trend in domestic and sexual violence within our community over recent years. Between 2018 and March 2025, reported incidents of domestic violence have fluctuated, reaching a high of 103 cases in 1 year and declining to 62 cases in the most recent year. Similarly, the number of sexual violence incidents have varied, with annual figures ranging from 30 cases down to 15 in the past year. It is important to recognize that several underlying factors contribute to these numbers and can significantly impact the ability of those affected by violence to access help and resources. Key issues include the availability of affordable housing, financial security, and the presence or lack of community resources. Addressing these challenges is critical to supporting survivors and reducing the prevalence of domestic and sexual violence in Saugeen Shores. There are several meaningful steps our community can take to combat intimate partner violence and gender-based violence in Saugeen Shores. Each of us has a role in creating a safer and more supportive environment for all. Education is a vital tool in preventing IPV. Members of council and the community are encouraged to complete. It's a 1-hour online course called Neighbors, Friends, and Families, provided by the Center for Research and Education on Violence Against Women and Children at Western University. This resource offers practical guidance on how to recognize warning signs and support those affected by violence. Advocacy is also crucial in driving systemic change, and we ask to send letters of support to our local members of provincial parliament, urging the government of Ontario to officially declare intimate partner violence an epidemic. Collective voices can influence policy and resource allocation to address this urgent issue. It's also important to call out gender-based violence whenever we encounter it in our daily lives, whether it's overheard in conversation, witnessed in public, or encountered online. Challenging harmful attitudes and behaviors helps shift our community's culture towards one of respect and safety for everyone. We invite everyone to wear purple on November 25th, tomorrow, in recognition of the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women. Please also consider sharing information about this day and the upcoming vigil on your social media platforms. Public displays of support raise awareness, foster solidarity, and reinforce our commitment to ending violence in all its forms. For over 34 years, CFUW Southport has proudly held a vigil to commemorate the National Day of Remembrance and Action on Violence Against Women. This National Day was created in remembrance of the 14 women who were killed at L'École Polytechnique in Montreal because they were women. We warmly invite members of the Saugeen Shores Council, members of the community to attend this event on Saturday, December 6th at noon at the Plex. We would also like to express our heartfelt gratitude to the town of Saugeen Shores for its support in providing the venue and staffing for the vigil. This backing from council and the town is greatly valued and underscores the importance of community collaboration. Further, as you've done for many years, we respectfully request that town flags be lowered and this event is promoted by the town. Our sincerest thanks to you, the mayor, members of council, and the community for your continued support, and we look forward to seeing you on Saturday, December 6th at noon at the Plex. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And with respect to your requests to council, I will direct that the flags be lowered on the 6th of December, and I'm certain that we can support the vigil with our social media accounts and other accounts in terms of promoting the event and letting the community know about it. Are there questions or comments from members? I'll also note that unfortunately this year I'm not going to be able to make it. I'm out of town this year, but I'm sure that members of council will be in attendance, and we do appreciate your invitation to be there.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, so that's the end of our delegations, and now we're on to reports of municipal officers. So our first report is the Arena and Sports Fields Needs Assessment, and I'll turn that over to the Director of Community Services.
Great, and thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. So the partial update of the Recreation Master Plan is identified as a division highlight for the Community Services Department, focusing on sports fields and arenas. The full needs assessment report is attached and provides recommended priorities for the next 10 years for council consideration. Prior to the presentation tonight, and based on the open forum session and conversations occurring earlier today, I just want to highlight the importance of the 2026 initiatives and confirm that prior to making any recommendation to council to close any diamonds and/or build any new diamonds, additional data is required. Future year recommendations, including refreshing the needs assessment based on the data collected, will help inform staff and council on appropriate next steps. So there's no recommendation to remove or build any diamonds without collecting further data and ensuring that user groups have proper allocation. So I'm pleased to hand over the presentation to a familiar face, Anad Desai, Principal Planner and partner with Monteith Brown. I want to recognize Dennis Kwan, the senior planner who led the needs assessment for the municipality, but he's under the weather and not able to present this evening. So we're fortunate to have Anad and Dennis as resources for the development of a very important roadmap for the future of parks and recreation in Saugeen Shores.
Thank you, Director Schreider. Mr. Mayor, members of council, it's nice to see some of you folks again. At the risk of, I guess I'm not subject to the 10-minute, I'll be quick, but I do want to just state, you know, we have been, as a firm, involved in assisting Saugeen Shores for decades. Probably, you know, but I know the first parks plan was done in 2004, some planning work before that. My very first public meeting as a professional planner was upstairs in 2005. So this is a community that is very important to us. We feel that, you know, we've built, you know, we've always strived to provide quality evidence to council, to staff, to support their decision making. I am hearing what the community said today in open forum, and I think Director Schreider's comments will get to, you know, I'll speak to that a little bit in greater detail, but we've worked very hard for a very long time to build goodwill among all in this community, as well as all the municipalities that we work in. So I just wanted to lead off by saying that. But thank you all for having me to present the arena and sports fields needs assessment. As the director just mentioned, you know, this is a study that is really scoped on a few key facilities, being arenas and indoor ice pads, ball diamonds, soccer fields, and cricket pitches, providing a focus for additional and continued decision-making to this town for the 10-year period to the year 2036. That takes into account your changing demographics, broader trends in the sector and other municipalities. We did engage user groups on both the arena side and the sports field side. So really, you know, it was not the intent to replicate the entire Parks and Recreation Master Plan, recognizing the the investments that have gone in next door. But again, I am very proud to say that, you know, some of the basis for decision making, most of the hard work is on your end, but, you know, our work in the past hopefully has provided that strong rationale for you to pursue investments like the Pride AWC, like the investments at Lamont Sports Park at Jubilee. So again, that has continued and it will always be our focus. As you know, 2 ice rinks here in town consisting of the Coliseum as well as the Plex. You have been diligently working on asset management to make sure that those facilities continue to run. Coliseum built in the late 70s, Plex a little bit newer, but hard to believe, a blink of an eye, and we're 25 years later. In terms of the sports field supply, we used a similar methodology as we did in the master plan for consistency, whereby we apply an equivalency factor to the town supply of lit diamonds, recognizing that in times in the late spring or early fall, there is opportunity for extended hours when the evenings get a little darker sooner. That means the 12 diamonds, which include 10 lit fields, and then including the 6 at the new Lamont Sports Park, result in 17 unlit equivalent ball diamonds. In terms of the soccer field supply, you have 9 soccer fields, 2 are lit, but we also know that the football club is the primary user who have a fairly young base, so we applied an additional equivalency to account for 9v9 and 7v7 play. The temporary cricket field at Beaner Park is something that is new that we saw since we were last here in 2016. And in engaging the user groups, now this was done by my colleague Dennis, but he had met with the various stakeholders, user groups of your facilities. Overwhelming themes of just folks are proud of the investments, the access to the facilities that you have. I think we heard that, from the ball folks today as well. Cricket appreciated having a place to play. They told us that they are growing, especially since the pandemic. Population trends have certainly changed in Saugeen Shores since COVID. And so in addition to the number of bodies in your community, groups are also telling us that they are seeing sociocultural, socioeconomic changes in their participant base. That is, we've correlated that back to StatsCan data as well. They have told us that there is a desire for more time at these facilities, largely so they can grow their organizations. And they also suggested to us during those sessions that allocation, scheduling, though those are things that are important to them. Our study focuses on facilities and facility space, but I do know that the town has taken some of those comments back and are doing their own service delivery analysis. They made some enhancements to existing facilities, such as dryland training at the arena, washrooms at Lamont, which I think you tendered out earlier this summer, additional seating and shade. So, I think by and large, we heard some consistent themes from what we heard in the 2016 plan, but again, that recognition that investments have been made. So when we looked at the numbers and in terms of data, we rely on data that's supplied to us by others. I mean, we talk to folks through some of these engagements. We work with your staff to go over numbers that they're tracking. So, we use a blend of self-reported data as well as data collected by your staff, to inform our assessments. And what we understand anyways is that there are 1,200 minor ice players in your municipality, the majority of whom between minor hockey and the skating club are the primary users of your ice times. That's not to say that we don't recognize the adult users. The 2016 master plan applied a standard of 1 ice pad per 800 total players, which included minor and adults. In this case, looking at the schedule and the usage profile, because it was heavily leaning towards the youth side of things, we recalculated that standard to be a bit more reflective. But it is underpinned by assumptions. And again, these are assumptions that we've used in other municipalities. That doesn't mean adults don't play. We're just saying adults probably aren't or might not be great for adults to be playing at 7 or 8 p.m. and having a 10-year-old playing later at night, for example. So really, where I'm going with this is we have 1,200 minor players and skaters between the minor hockey and the skating club. We project that to grow to about 1,400 minor players, assuming that participation rates continue to stay the same. In smaller municipalities, more rural municipalities, we see a little bit more strength or stability in ice sport participation compared to more urban centers where demographic shifts are causing some declines. We are seeing at a national level, though, some hockey participation rebounding after COVID, but perhaps not to the same extent that we would have seen 15, 20 years ago when those sports were peaked. But on the whole, things are growing. We think that there is potential for this community based on your demographics to add a couple of hundred more minor players and skaters. In terms of the utilization rate, and again, this is something that's been supplied to us, is that the arenas have an overall utilization rate of 82%. When we look at the schedules, we do see much more times being blocked in your schedules, but when we work with town staff to understand the actual usage, I think what bears noting is that, over the past couple of years, a total of just over 250 hours were turned back by those various arena groups, not just minor, but, your arena system as a whole. We expect that to be the case, as in, the months of September, things are just getting going with tryouts. In kind of the later months of March, even April, once playoffs start, groups don't need as much time as they did in November or February, for example. But, again, we do see, a utilization rate in the range of about 82%. So if we were to apply a target of 1 ice pad per 500 minor players, we project the need for that third ice pad within the next 10 years. So in that lens, as much as we want to make sure that any kind of capital is supported by appropriate allocation policies, which may provide some additional guidance around things like turnbacks, developing an ice allocation policy, getting ahead of a potential expansion to the Plex. We don't believe that there is good rationale if the town were to need a second ice pad. A third standalone ice pad would not be, in our opinions, ideal. Multi-pad facilities are kind of the way of the future from an operational standpoint, both for you in a municipal finance as well as user groups. The Plex will continue, the Coliseum will continue to remain so long as you're able to maintain that asset. And we have talked about updating the Coliseum's green room, the upstairs hall, undertaking some accessibility retrofits. Obviously, it was built at a time when in the 70s where they didn't have the same accessibility standards as we did today. And then based on an update, a more fulsome update to the Recreation and Parks Master Plan, then we would confirm the need for that second ice pad in the time frame that we are anticipating. So with respect to ball, and again, I think a number of I think what's key, for us is we don't rely on any one statistic to form an opinion, right? We're looking at demographics, we're looking at utilization rates, we're looking at registration, we're listening to what organizations are telling us in terms of their growth and, improvements that they, would like to see. We were provided with, between the various organizations, about 1,800 minor and adult ball diamond players. Again, assuming everybody, the same percentage of the population continues to play now and over the next 10 years, we could grow another 200 baseball players or softball players. And so, I think what is I will recognize here is that, when we looked at the registration rates and we see a growing number of players, but then we saw the utilization rates at being low, the report recognizes that there is a limitation in the data, that practices weren't accounted for. We were pulling schedules from things like websites, conversations with town staff to kind of form that basis of utilization. But we recognized additional work needs to be done to paint a full picture. So, I think it's not a matter of trying to mislead anybody. It's a matter of us saying we have one set of statistics, population and registration, that is telling us you need perhaps more diamonds. We have another set of data, though, that's saying, even if we're not factoring practice, which may be the only thing happening at a certain diamond, that's telling us a different story. So what is happening in the middle? And so that is really kind of driving the last point there, that's saying a better understanding of total usage is needed before we build any new diamonds. And I think, the other thing I just want to be explicitly clear on, we are not recommending a net reduction in your ball diamond supply. What we are saying is you have made a multi-million-dollar investment in your entire sports field system. You have, again, since I was upstairs in 2004, the player experience at your sports fields, the capacity afforded through your sports field investments has grown exponentially. And I think, over the last 20 years, maybe in the more recent times with Lamont and maybe some of those investments are a bit more recent, but in the last 5 years, absolutely, it is a better experience, I think. And I was at the Parks and Recreation Conference last week where people were talking about, hey, did you see what Saugeen Shores has done in Port Elgin? Those are the types of things we want to hear. And I think that's probably the things your organizations, as we talked about or heard about around tournaments, you're gaining a profile. So I want to be explicitly clear. We are not talking about net reductions of your ball diamond supply. What we are saying, and it doesn't show up on this slide, but it does on the actual recommendations, based on essentially 6 new lit high-quality diamonds at Lamont in the last 3 years, based on the investments and the enhancements at Jubilee, we think that the town needs to understand how those diamonds are truly being used before it invests in additional diamonds. And if and when you invest in additional diamonds, we think that Lamont is an opportunity to think about there because you have land allocated for phase 3. As I understand it, certain user groups indicated that they would prefer to play and centralize their programs at Lamont, and obviously why, right? It's a great spot. So what we're saying, before any major decisions, as the director said, whether it's to add, whether it's to repurpose to another community use, what have these enhancements at Lamont, at Jubilee, and potentially net new additions at Lamont, what will those do in terms of the uptake and your ability to make the most effective use of all of your parklands? And so, that is something I just want to affirm. It was never about removing. As much as I'm seeing number 10 right there in the way it's worded in this PowerPoint, there was a precursor in the actual report. And again, like I said, the utilization, I don't want to belabor that. I think that is, something what we have heard. I think, I know the director has heard and is already having conversations. And so, I think you can expect additional data, additional analysis to come forward before a staff recommendation to build something else or repurpose something existing. In terms of soccer, the projections or again, groups reported, and largely it's your one football club, the FC, they reported just over 900 minor and adult participants. Our projections take that to grow again by, funny enough, again, another couple hundred people over the planning period. What is interesting, from our perspective, again, the fields are primarily utilized between Mondays and Thursdays. We didn't see a lot of usage on Fridays or the weekends. But again, that'll be something that that town staff will work to validate. And so based on continuing consistent with the master plan, a 1 field per 80 participants, there could be 1 additional soccer field needed by 2036. So we are recommending continuing again to monitor and track, the amount of time occurring, looking at, non-municipal fields. Again, to an extent, there's school boards, there's places of worship, there's others where there are soccer fields. Are there opportunities to make, more regular and consistent use there? But we also think that should you need that third or 1 more additional soccer field in the longer term, in addition to your investments for the 2 fields at Halliwell right now, engaging the Conservation Authority, because there may be some land out back to accommodate a third, subject to any kind of legislative considerations that need to be given from a conservation standpoint. And from a cricket field perspective, again, something you've introduced recently, the group tells us that there's approximately 200 of them. They're using the field about 20 hours a week, but we recognize that, again, because it's temporary in nature. There's only certain forms of cricket that they can play. They can't play it with a hard ball. Otherwise, they'd be spraying the ball out across the street and probably into someone's front yard. So, those constraints, combined with the fact that your community continues to diversify, the fact that, again, and this is anecdotal, but the fact is folks in the province know what you're doing, or at least a few folks do. And so I think that may gain, some profile from a sport tourism economic development potential. Cricket is a very social sport and can draw from wide regional destinations where adequate facilities exist. So we have suggested, in conjunction with the diamonds that we're talking about as part of phase 3 at Lamont, doing that facility fit to see if we can get a cricket grounds in there. So with that being said, these recommendations and the timing associated with them, they continue to be a guide. They can be adjusted based on if there are funding opportunities, if population growth accelerates or decelerates from this snapshot in time. Certainly we want this to be nimble. A funding plan will need to be drafted, and that's kind of what the town has done in the past with a master plan. Staff come, plug that into, work that into annual budgeting processes, and then council has an understanding of what this means financially. But we do think, again, as much as this was a scoped update to the master plan, a more fulsome update will be beneficial, not only to look at arenas, sports fields, cricket pitches, but also at the time of the next update, you'll probably have a couple of years at least of a new pool in operation, a basketball court, a gymnasium. So with that, I'm pleased to take any questions or comments from council. Thank you for hearing us out.
Okay, thank you very much. So there is a resolution that council amend the 2026 business plan to include a community services division highlight to develop an implementation plan. Is there a mover and seconder for that amendment? Councillor Mayette. Anybody else? Councillor Grace. Questions or comments? Councillor Mayette.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you. Thanks very much for the presentation and all the hard work that went into this. And kudos for standing up after the welcome you got in the open forum. I know it was there's a lot of contradictory ideas with what our town needs, what we have, and what we're going to need in the future, which is the hardest part to predict. So thanks for giving us some basis for that. With regards to the Lamont Sport Park, there's 20 or 30 acres of available land yet to be developed over there, phase 3. And the idea of a cricket pitch, the idea perhaps of another soccer field or more ball diamonds. Is there anywhere that you've heard of where they have sort of a multi-use facility where you can use it for baseball some of the time, maybe even for practice baseball, and then have it set up for cricket and maybe even for soccer? I know that the cricket pitch is used for Australian rules football, a sport that I used to play when I lived in the GTA. And it's played on the cricket pitch, so I'm familiar with the dimensions of it. I know it's a large field, 180 meters by 120 meters regulation. Is there any idea for doing that we could put that sport on the map and still be able to use that for the other sports that are more traditional and popular?
Yeah, I mean, we have seen maybe more in the States, like some multi-purpose baseball diamonds, but I mean, the examples I saw kind of combine soccer and baseball, and you can't play both at once, and they're not perfect in that respect. Truly, I mean, a baseball diamond, again, in our opinion, because you're playing softball, hardball, you can have different, playouts to the foul line, to the fences, mounds, no mounds. We really, I mean, in my opinion, I think, ball sports are best played on a diamond, right? That's purpose built for the sport or the age division that it's intended to serve. Rectangular fields give you a bit more flexibility. I mean, if you played Aussie rules football and you still have all your teeth, I mean, that's great. But we do see more artificial turf fields. synthetic turf fields where you have the multiple linings on them, like almost like a gymnasium floor. So you can play football, you can play soccer, you can play field lacrosse. I don't know the line markings for Aussie rules, but assuming it might be similar to rugby. So, there are those templates. From a cricket standpoint, we have seen municipalities put a cricket field in between two soccer fields, but that's usually to test demand. You have already tested demand at Beaner, and it's showing that there is demand. So I guess long story short is, perhaps at the time of the next master plan update, we didn't, you have high school fields here, again, which might be able to accommodate some football and rugby. We did not hear the need necessarily for a multi-use rectangular field, but hey, I mean, at Hellywell, if you proceed with a third rectangular field, whether it's at Hellywell or somewhere else, maybe the time, again, and subject to future conversations, might suggest instead of soccer, maybe it is more of a multi-use template.
Okay, further questions or comments? Councillor Halpin?
Thank you, Mayor, and through you. I was just wondering, how much did this report cost?
The director.
Thank you for the question, and through you, 24,500.
Further questions, comments from members? The Vice Deputy Mayor.
A number of questions, and I wonder if we could bring slot page 16 up on the report. We could bring it up on the screen, page 16.
Oh, I don't think I have a copy of the report on the screen.
I think the clerks are working on it. Just give them half a sec there.
Just as they're setting up there, I just wanted to say, Anand, I have utmost respect for Monty Brown Planning Consultants. I've been involved with you 4 or 5 times over my long career in government and Parks and Recreation before council, and so I have utmost respect, and you've always done great work. And welcome back to Saugeen Shores again to finish up to renew this report. I think what's causing a whole lot of concern, I spoke to you this before the meeting, is on page 16, and I'll read the paragraph. He said, all of the ball diamonds in town's inventory have documented levels of use. For example, during the 2025 season, diamond number 1 at Beaner had a usage rate of 3%. Lakeview ball diamond had a utilization of 20%. Both diamonds at Cameron were not used. I think that's what really stirred up, the excitement amongst these groups, in that throughout the report, we talk about decommissioning fields. And I'd make the argument that future councils are going to read this report. I mean, I may not be sitting around the table, some of us might not be, but future councils are going to be reading this report. Like the 2016 Recreation Master Plan was well done. We ended up with Lamont Sports Park because of the 2010 assessment and the 2016 Recreation Master Plan. We ended up with Lamont Sports Park. We followed those recommendations to a T. We were short about 7 or 8 fields. We got those fields. So I'm not going to be supporting this recommendation tonight. I think we should be deferring it. And I think we should be sending it out, and I'll present my recommendation later, but I think that we need to be deferring and sending this back to staff, tries, and getting together with the groups and allowing them to present their data.
Mhm.
And I heard tonight that the data, Anand, you said, came from staff off of websites, and I spoke briefly with groups on the weekend about this, and there was one hour meeting held amongst user groups, one hour Zoom meeting. And it was basically a meet and greet. And I think if the questions had been asked about practice fields, what is your usage for Cameron Park? We heard from Mr. Dunn tonight that they were used 95% of the time. This report says 0. I can't support this report the way it's written. I think it's got to be sent back. And I think meetings need to take place between staff and perhaps you and Anand coming back, and I'm not sure how that works, but I think that there needs to be more consultation. And you mentioned in your report, in all fairness to you, You said practices weren't included, not included in the data. But if we're making decisions on decommissioning fields based on 0% usage and 3% and 70%, we can't make around this, in my view, we can't make educated decisions about decommissioning fields when I see that Camerons use 0% of the time. Well, let's get rid of them today. Let's get rid of. But we're not going to do that. Obviously, common sense would dictate that Cameron Park is used 95% of the time in the peak months of June and July. We need those fields. We heard of 11, 12 tournaments being brought in here in the summertime. I've been at a good number of those tournaments with my 2 grandkids. A lot of fields in Saugeen Shores besides Lamont Sports Park are used for tournaments. We simply can't decommission those fields without further study. So I think to receive this, to accept, the recommendation is to, I'm not sure how it reads, but I am going to be moving that we defer it and send it back to staff, because these groups have all picked up on those numbers. And they're a bit offended by that they've worked hard to build their associations. We heard from Connor Yorth tonight that he's going to bring in a brand new 4-team men's recreation baseball league. We heard from, and a men's team, we heard from Ms. Cronenberg that the lady stats aren't in here. So I think it needs more work, and I think it needs to better reflect the actual usage of our ball diamonds. When I look at Lamont Sports Park, used 49% of the time. I have an answer for that, but we'll let staff figure it out in consultation with staff, and that, that number is dragged down because 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock at night isn't used a lot, the prime time. But you can't put 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-year-olds on there at 10 o'clock at night. So I think the whole scheduling thing around who's using what and when, maybe I talked to Connor Yorth there briefly tonight. He called me and he said, instead of us starting at 6 o'clock at night, maybe we can start at 6:30, 7 o'clock, move a little bit later to let the young kids play from 5 to 7. So I think the whole thing just needs to be looked at with their ball diamond usage. And so that's, I'll be making my recommendation in a minute, but I have a few more questions unless you want to respond to what I just said.
Yeah, I think there's just a couple of things there, Vice Deputy Mayor. In terms of one, I appreciate you noting, right? Like the report does state that, the lack of or the absence of practice data, is in there, and we acknowledge that. And that is, again, the basis why we're not relying on any one statistic. We are looking at different things. And so I think, before, in your kind of words to, before one would decommission any diamonds, you want to understand the data. By the very same token, before you invest in additional diamonds, which is a recommendation in here, you will also want to look at that very same data. So that is really why we have kind of, as I said during the presentation, flagged that registration, it has grown in recent years. We think registration will continue to grow. There was, that much space between, a foot and home plate that would have won this country a World Series. So we can expect to see, I would think, based on, recent memories, when the Jays do well, we see a surge in ball. So, we're proud of what we have helped your local organizations build with respect to the ball diamond capacity. I will also just say, from a consultation standpoint, the meeting that we had for user groups, I will say it was more than a meet and greet. Okay, we did have a generative discussion with them where we talked about certain trends. No, we did not get into, at that early stage in the game, the specificities on around how much practice time they were using, but we did have conversations about the existing supply, their future needs. So again, and they very much conveyed to us that they're growing and believe that they will need additional diamonds. So I just, again, want to just impress upon yourself, among members of council, the folks that were able to attend and delegate today, that, we are just saying we acknowledge that the data did not necessarily exist here. Ball diamond soccer field data has been notoriously difficult for municipalities to track. I will say that, because it's not like your arena where people are paying, 100, 150 bucks an hour. They're walking through your doors. You can kind of count. Sports fields tend to be, and I can't recall the situation here, but they might be block booked at the start of a season and staff aren't always on site every day.
Okay.
So I will say there is limitations there with that,
So-
but yeah, thank you.
Just about data being available, I think I heard from Mr. Dunn tonight and Frank Burrows before he retired, he brought in the schedule, gave him the whole schedule for the whole season for practice time, showed him that 95% of the fields, the Cameron and other fields would be booked for practices. So they did, I think the data is available.
The Director of Community Services has a comment. The Director.
Thank you for that. And through you, Mr. Mayor, I just want to confirm as well, the data that's spoken about tonight, and we do report out annually to council through our business plan, is data that's booked in our facility booking software. And so what we are working for and committing with the user groups next year, and this was discussed at our last ball user group meeting a couple of weeks ago, is working with them to book practices so that we can provide data to the counselors for all their information, because right now we don't have it. They're absolutely correct on that. So that is one of the important initiatives of 2026. The other one being developing the ball diamond allocation policy, which was presented also through the business plan. We're doing an ICE one as well, focus being on minor sports. And Connor's comment, Connor and I talked a week and a half ago, and that's exactly what him and I chatted about, is how do we move and create some availability at the earlier times for our youth sports and bump some of our adult user groups. So we're bang on there.
And that's perfect. And I just wanted to reiterate, the fields outside of Lamont Sports Park are critical to our minor sports and men's slow pitch league with our organization for practice. They need a place to practice. They weren't allowed to practice at Lamont last year. We need those other fields for practice. When we talk about decommission, we got to really think about it, and more data is coming. So that's good to hear. The question about the ice pad data, I also was hoping, praying that maybe a third ice pad was in the next 5 years. I think that you're calling for 10 years from now. That's disappointing to me. We have a 10-year capital plan. We have a business plan, and the ice facility is not in there. Granted, I think it's 2036. But I share that disappointment with the user groups. I heard a presentation here a year ago from President Minor Hockey, maybe year and a half ago, saying that there's a shortage of ice time, about 35 to 40 hours of ice. And I just wanted to know, did you take that into consideration when you met with Minor Hockey? Did you take into consideration that, did they give you information pertaining to a shortage of ice time? Did you hear that from them?
Yeah, they communicated that they would like, additional ice times. I think they communicated as well, the growth that they have been experiencing in their registration base. 1,200 some odd registrants. I think, when it comes to minor, and this is part of the reason why we moved to a minor specific standard in our report, is that, again, the prime time window, as much as, we're looking at a arena's prime time window, generally, 4 or 5 o'clock to 11 o'clock, let's say, on weekdays, and, a little bit earlier starts in the morning on the weekends. But you're not going to have a lot of minor play, after 10 o'clock. So we understand why they're saying it's very difficult anywhere in the province to this day to find an hour of ice between 5 and 9 p.m. It doesn't matter what municipality you go to. Where we do see attrition and erosion in ice time demand is kind of those 7 a.m.s on a weekend. It's probably, the 10 or 10:30s on a weekday when, people got to get up for work. They're not booking those to the same extent. So we did hear that, Vice Deputy Mayor.
When you were preparing, I'm just back to Mont for 1 second, if I might, Mr. Mayor. When you were preparing your report, there was a lot of consulting work done back 5, 6, 7 years ago that called for 10 playing fields at Lamont Sports Park. There's 6 now, and there's enough room for 4 more additional fields. In your report, you talk about 2036, 2 lighted diamonds. And I would argue that the need really, the need really is for 4 non-lit fields for youth to be able to play between 5 and 8 and 9 o'clock at night. So I would argue about the 2, I think the town could save a lot of money by not putting in lights for 2 fields, but more so going with 4 non-lit fields. So it's equivalent. It's equivalent. But I think our money would be better spent in your report. I would hope that wish that there had been a little more thought into whether or not we need 2 lighted fields versus 4, because it's in the report. 2 lighted fields. When the council of the day comes around and 8 to 10 years from now, they say, well, they're calling for 2 lit fields. So I would argue that they should have read 4 non-lit fields.
Yeah, I think,
Better, you know, to better suit the user climate out there with their youth groups. That's where the need is.
yeah, I guess we also heard from Lady Slow Pitch here as well. So we are cognizant of the need to provide, adequate diamond time for adults. And listen, if council, is able to find land for another 4 unlit diamonds, that's great. I think that's something that can be decided at that time. Our prevailing thought was, by providing 2, we know we have a parcel of land where those could potentially fit, subject to those designs. If they're lit, it still allows adults to play on them at the times when minor is off them. That was really our thinking.
Ron, did you see the report that showed, did you see the sketches where it called for 10 fields at Lamont Sports Park? Did you?
I can't picture them off the top of my head, but I know I would have seen them at some point.
That's about all I have for now. Again, I just wanted to, sounds like I have utmost respect for Monteith Brown Planning Consultants. The 2016 report you did was fabulous. 2010 report was fabulous. Look what we got today at Lamont Sports Park. We followed the Parks and Trails Master Plan 2004, did all those plans, and we've really implemented all those recommendations. It's just a report I'm not quite in agreement with.
So Vice Deputy Mayor, again, I learned a lot from you early in my career, and so I take nothing personally. Everything is constructive. I take all feedback constructively. At the end of the day, this is an opinion that we're presenting through this report. There are, again, various points of data that we've used to form that opinion, and more information will be forthcoming that will allow council to ultimately make a decision. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll go to Councillor Halpin then, and then Davinsky.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you. Saugeen Shores has made very significant investments into recreation, and this study shows that we're basically good for the next 10 years. I just also want to mention that there's quite a bit of fatigue about tax increases and everything like that. We've made these big investments, and I think it's time just for us to enjoy these investments and just catch up with ourselves a little bit, is my one comment. The other comment I wanted to make is a 3rd ice pad does have its benefits, and we will grow into needing that. However, in the meantime, the spillover of mostly men's pickup hockey does benefit Paisley, Tara, and Tiverton, and makes those facilities more profitable. So we will need one in time, and I support that. Just a comment, anyone who knows me knows that I think that we use too many consultants. This report and the recent healthcare report have only kind of hardened that belief. If we send this back, we spent almost 25,000 on it. If we refer it to staff, are we going to be spending more money on this report?
I guess that's a question for council, depending on what we do here, but we'll have to see what we ultimately do with the report. Councillor Davinsky.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And through you to either Kristen or Monteith Brown, I am looking at the hockey, and I'm seeing that it suggests we're using less time. Well, we booked a lot of time, but a lot of time was turned back over. And you say it was 258 hours of ice time turned back to the town over the past 2 ice seasons. And this comes from a constituent. is there more information regarding when this is happening and why it's happening?
I would go defer to the director for that.
The Director of Community Services.
Thank you for that. And through you, Mr. Mayor. So we will be able to provide background data down to the month. We track it by month and by user group as to those who have turned ice back. I also draw your attention to Appendix D in the report, which is the ice allocation schedule. And the report also provides a breakdown or explanation of the difference between utilization and allocation. So in Appendix D is the allocation for ice, and you'll note that, you know, some nights are a little bit later where we go until 11 o'clock or 10 o'clock or 10:30, and some not so late, and our adult users are included within that allocation, but the utilization is where we're at the 82% or 84%, and that's because of some of the ice that they're giving back, or it's not needed. And I think Anad did speak to that a little bit. In the springtime, they don't maybe need as much ice, or when playoff time comes around, some teams get eliminated, so not as much ice is needed there. So I can provide that data to council for sure. The other thing that I just wanted to point out with Appendix D and working on an ice allocation policy is that we will look at the appropriate times for user groups, adults versus youth as well, so that hopefully we can spread that out a little bit to provide more ice time for minor sports, delay some of our adult users to later in the evening, and focusing on that.
Okay, thank you. Does some of the canceled ice, is it because of weather, or do you know that? Is that made clear? And it might not be weather here. It may be weather if it's a traveling team for minor hockey, the weather at their end, and they just can't make it up. Is that spelled out at all?
Thank you for the question, and through you, Mr. Mayor, when I look up that information and forward it on to council for their information, then I'll see if we track it by weather as well, but it would be canceled ice. The other thing not reflected is that if we're able to resell it as well.
And how successful has that been as far as rebooking the ice once it's turned back?
Thank you for the question, and through you. So we do offer last minute ice. I believe it's at a reduced rate, but I don't want to say what it is in case I'm wrong in the fees and charges, but we can look up that information for you.
Okay, and sometimes minor hockey teams go away to tournaments and so on, but they have ice every weekend here. So they turn that back. Is that being given to other minor hockey teams that could use that ice time?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, any ice time that is not given back to the town from minor sports, I would assume they are reallocating to another team. So if a midget team had ice elsewhere in an away time, they can give up their spot to another team, and that they do that in-house.
Okay, thank you very much, and I look forward to that report. But what you're hearing here is there are a lot more questions than there are answers right now as far as the Monteith Brown report goes. And I support the Vice Deputy Mayor about deferring this report until we get more information, like I've just asked, from staff. So it's a great report, but it's to me, it's just a start. There are a lot of other questions that have to be answered. Thank you.
Maybe I'll just speak briefly to what the resolution is that's been moved and seconded. It's been resolved that council amend the 2026 business plan to include a community services division highlight to develop an implementation plan. So essentially what is on the table is, I mean, this is a piece of information you have, you can take it or leave it, but the resolution is to ask staff to develop a plan to implement recommendations, right? And that involves all of the work that's been talked about, working with the user groups, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So you have a report, the report's done. You can decide whether you like it or not, but the direction we're recommending this evening is that you pass it to staff now to come back to us with an implementation plan and then implementation 27 forward. So just so we're clear on what's being recommended, the Vice Deputy Mayor and then Councillor Mayette.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I'm going to ask for a recorded vote on this because I'm going to ask for a recorded vote because I think it's that important that this report be made accurate because it's very, very misleading. Any future decisions future councils are going to make, those numbers are in that report, extremely misleading for decommissioning and new fields. And I also want to comment something Councillor Halpin said about people are donor fatigued and tax fatigued. I don't disagree. But we need to have an accurate report. And I'm not suggesting that we spend one more penny sending it back to consultant, but what I am suggesting is that we, as a council, ask staff to meet with the user groups so they can provide accurate data to be placed into the report. That's all I'm asking for. So I'm going to put a motion on the floor. I'd like to see it as a recorded vote. I would like to recommend that the recommendation pertaining to the arena and sports fields needs assessment be deferred and referred back to staff for further review, including meeting with parks and ice facility users with the objective being to review the actual usage for all facilities, including practice times in 2025, and further that following the collection of new data, that the usage section of the report be amended to better reflect current usage and future needs, including recommendations pertaining to the timing of decommissioning of all fields, ball diamonds, and or constructing of additional ball diamonds, soccer fields, and a new ice facility. I know it's long, but I just feel it's extremely important we get it right.
So you'll pass that wording along to the clerk. Is there a seconder for the resolution? Seconded by Councillor Davinsky. Discussion to the motion to, that was a motion to defer, correct? The motion to defer. I might make a comment. If you defer tonight, so the recommendation, the resolution that's suggested being deferred is an amendment to the business plan. The business plan will come into effect on the 12th of December, irrespective of council's actions, right? Because of the new rules around that. If you defer, it will not be in the 2026 business plan as a division highlight, in which case we will not be giving direction to staff to work on it at all. So all this is, the recommendation that has been moved and seconded that we're discussing deferring now is direction to do what the Vice Deputy Mayor is suggesting, to work on this. If you defer it, it won't be in the business plan and it won't get worked on at all. And you don't have the flexibility because it's going to come into effect on the 12th, the business plan. So I will vote against this because I want to do what the Vice Deputy Mayor is suggesting and have this in the business plan to be worked on. I don't want to miss 2026. I'd rather we work on it in 2026. So I won't support deferral for that reason. Councillor Halpin.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you. Would the consultant be interested in refreshing the report that was given to include complete information?
We should discuss the motion to defer. We're discussing a motion to defer right now, so we can have that conversation afterwards, but we should stay focused right now on the motion on the floor, which is to defer and focus our conversation on that question. Councillor Mayette.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you. I'm of the opinion similar to yours that what we're being asked here tonight is not to accept this report. It's not to endorse this report. It's not to make this report our plans for the future. This report is simply a straw model. And I think if nothing else, it creates a good template, and it's obviously raised focus amongst staff, amongst council, amongst the public as to the things that we should be focusing on with regards to our sports arenas and our ball fields and our utilizations. So I think it's critically important that we do pass this on so that it can be worked on, because that's really what the recommendation is that we're going to get together. And I can see by the nods and the looks around the room that the data comes from the people that are using it. And if we don't get those people all together in the same room and find out what people are actually doing, and then use the software so that we have current and correct data on all usage, practice, play, and elsewise, then we're going to come up with some quality data that we can use to plan for the future. But to simply toss this inside because it has in some cases glaring anomalies and missed data is really irresponsible and a waste of $25,000 worth of consulting fees. Thank you.
Yeah, the Vice Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, I don't think I'm being irresponsible at all, Deputy Mayor, or Deputy Dave Mayat, Councilor Mayat. I think that the second part of the recommendation, that council direct staff to include future year recommendations in the upcoming business plans. I don't like the recommendations that are being made.
Vice Deputy Mayor, could I just make a comment that's not, that resolution hasn't been made. That's not the resolution that's on the table. The resolution that's been moved and seconded is that the council amend the 2026 business plan to include a community services division highlight to develop an implementation plan, just for clarity for
But
council.
Mr. Mayor, you argued that this cannot be put into the 2016 business plan because of my deferral. What I'm saying is that I don't want those recommendations to be put into the business plan the way they're written, because I don't agree with what's being said in the consultant's report. Don't agree with it. Pardon? The recommendation I'm reading is this.
And that's not the recommendation that's on the floor. It's wrong. The number, it's not the right one.
Well, why didn't I have an updated recommendation then?
I'm not sure. The clerk can speak to it.
Well then, okay.
The clerk.
When the agenda was being published, the recommendation was on a previous version, and for some reason, eScribe, our publishing software, did not update. So the recommendation that was made was this, and I thought that we had got it before everyone saw it, but apparently we did not. So I apologize.
Okay. Well.
Yeah, just so we're clear.
I wasn't privy, look, I wasn't privy to that second part. That's an important piece of information I did not have tonight. So what you're saying, Mr. Mayor, is that the council support the update. Can I see it again, Kirk?
I can read it again. It's because there's not clarity. The resolution is that council amend the 2026 business plan to include a community services division highlight to develop an implementation plan. That's been moved and seconded by Grace and Helpin, maybe, or maybe to Mayette and Grace. So that is the resolution that's been moved and seconded, which I read earlier.
Changes my thought process a little bit. I want it to be in the 2026 business plan. Absolutely, I do. But I also like to hear a commitment from staff that they're going to meet with the user groups to get the actual usage to put into the plan. Can I, in the motion somewhere, can I amend that motion to get that commitment that that's going to happen, that this report's going to get changed? That's what I'm really after tonight.
But we can, do you want to speak to it, or the CAO?
Thank you for the question. Through you, Mr. Mayor. On the second page of the staff report, it outlines what, and the bullet points there, it outlines for council what will be undertaken in 2026. I won't read them all, but just to highlight, it is the development of allocation policies for both ice and field. It's monitoring, tracking the ball utilization, including games and practices, which seems to be the point that we're circling around tonight. It's better understanding the utilization of Lamont Sports Park and Jubilee Diamonds. And then it goes on to speak to the other pieces, but specifically around ball, which seems to be the piece that we're focused around. It is specifically looking at tracking better, accurate data so council can make informed decisions.
Just one last comment, Mr. Mayor. Can I receive a commitment tonight that staff will meet with the user groups so that they can get the actual usage from 2025 and have the report changed? Can I receive that commitment?
The Director of Community Services.
Thank you, and through you, Mr. Mayor. So what I can commit to, and which we always commit to, is meeting with user groups, listening to them, and making sure that we're providing all the information that we have. And we provide that information to council so that they can make informed decisions. By all means, we're committed to meeting with them, committed to the recommendations that are outlined in here as well. The data that is in the report tonight is the data that we have. That is the data through our facility software booking system. We can discuss the data that user groups have as well and take that as information, but the data in tonight's report is what is in our software. That is the data that we have.
I think I heard that staff will meet with the groups, Kristen, and gather that data from 2025 with all their fields were used for practice fields and implement it into the master plan, and the numbers changed. Is that what I'm hearing?
Thank you for the question, and through you, Mr. Mayor. We're meeting with the groups, yes, and we'll look at their data that they have there as well. We don't have that data in our booking software system. If the request is to add it into the booking software system for last year, I'll refer to staff and get back to council on that to get those percentages, but we're happy to review the data and include it in the information forwarded to council in the future.
Just to finish up, I know you don't have the data. The minor sports groups have the data. All I'm asking for tonight, get the data from them and amend the report so that Cameron, for one, doesn't show zero usage. That's all I'm asking for tonight.
The CAO.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I think what we could probably commit to is in 2026, as it recommends in the staff report, that we would work with the user groups to collect the data. And what we could bring forward to council, Vice Deputy Mayor, is an addendum that could be attached then to this report so that in future years, when people are looking back on it, they can clearly see the 2026 data.
Okay, so there is a motion to defer on the table. Do you wish to withdraw the motion to defer? Yeah, sure. That's
The
understood.
new information I just received is helpful to me. Thank
Yeah,
you.
apologize for the confusion. So that's withdrawn by the mover and seconder. So we're back to the main question, and everyone is clear on the main question. Okay, I just wanted to comment, and I appreciate all the comments from everybody. I appreciate the work of Monteith Brown and all the comments from the user groups that were here this evening. I'm glad that we're going to engage in the coming year to try to make sure we have accurate information. We want to have accurate information. It's important to note, though, and just remember that the town of Saugeen Shores has made historic investments in baseball in the last 5 years. We've invested more in baseball in the last 5 years than we did in the previous 150 years of the municipality, right? And we still have all the diamonds, and we're going to look and see how they're used, and we're going to make sure, well, I just think it's important just to be clear, the town of Saugeen Shores is very, very committed to baseball, right? And we have been, and we're going to, I'm sure, continue that trend, but we're also going to be cognizant of being responsible with the dollars the taxpayer sends us and make sure that we are running the facilities we need, make sure we're running them efficiently. And if we don't need facilities, we may repurpose those facilities based on the right information, right? That's what the taxpayer expects us to do, and that's what we will do. So we'll keep working forward and figure out how to do that in the right way. And so we have some good recommendations here. I think there's many good recommendations in this report. Frankly, there's a few that I have some issues with, but there's some real good ones too, a lot of them. And so they're worth us having and carrying forward and thinking about and working on. And so, yeah, I think there's a lot of positivity and a lot to be positive about where we're at with all of our sports groups and facilities. And I think we'll have a good year next year as we work on this data and chart a path forward. So thank you very much for the report. You've heard the recommendation. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much. Okay, so now we are on to the second report, 9.2, on the water and wastewater master plan. And we'll turn that over to the Director, Operations.
Thank you, and through you, Mayor Charbonneau. The final 2025 Water and Wastewater Master Plan incorporates further analysis and comments that have been received since the Public Information Center in July and the update provided to Council in September. The technical information herein remains mostly unchanged since September. Some feedback was incorporated into the final report, though. And the recommendations outlined in the master plan are included in the 2026 business plan for Council consideration. I have here tonight Andrew Garland and Lisa Courtney from BM Ross. They will describe the next steps in the process and take any questions Council may have about the plan.
Good evening, and thank you, Council and staff. Apparently we aren't as popular as sports, but that's okay. So in terms of next steps of the master plan, we will be moving forward with issuing a notice of master plan report. That essentially says that the master plan is now available for the public to review. We have sent it out to some agencies to review the draft version, and they've had no comments back. Not that they haven't sent anything back, they actually have no comments. So we'll be just moving forward with that, and then that starts the 30-day public review period for the master plan. And after that, council can then move to adopt the master plan. So we're happy to take any questions at this time.
All right, thank you very much. There is a recommendation that council receive the water and wastewater master plan report for information. Is there a mover and seconder? Moved by Councilor Grace, seconded by Councilor Halpin. Questions or comments? Councilor Halpin.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you. It's a 160-page report. It was a lot of reading. I think what I get from this, though, is that I really feel comfortable that we have a good long-term strategy that pays what we need to pay, builds the reserves for what we need reserves for, and prevents us from having an emergency down the road. So I think we're in good hands with Matt and his team. I do have a bit of a question about the environmental assessments that are going on. How long are they taking on an average to do an environmental assessment for these?
Thank you for the question, and through you, Your Worship. An environmental assessment, depending on the intricacies of the actual subject matter, can take 3 years, it can take 1 year. It depends if it's a Schedule C, Schedule B environmental assessment. The water treatment plant upgrade EA and the wastewater treatment plant upgrade EA for Port Elgin can take longer because they're Schedule Cs, because you're intending to increase capacity. In 2026, we're considering as part of the business plan, and this was justified by the findings of this study, to begin a Schedule B class environmental assessment for water storage in the community. And the schedule of assessment that you need to follow and are required to follow, and the steps you need to follow in the public consultation, third-party consultation, and First Nations consultation, and others that you have to do are more or less spelled out in the environmental assessment process in the Act. So it does take a little bit of time. The Schedule B one for the water storage EA, we think would only take about 1 or 2 years. Obviously, it's taken longer for the EA for the water treatment plant and the wastewater treatment plant to get going, but we did have a coordination issue. We wanted to undertake the master plan study. We wanted to establish the best information that was available out there for the growth rates and make sure that every single consultant was working from the same page about the future populations and everything else. That required a lot of back and forth with the town to identify the growth areas, the use of the Bruce County data, and that was a long process, and that took a lot of 2025 and 2024 to get through.
Okay, thank you. I think that if there's anything they could speed up to help build new houses and everything, I think it would be these environmental assessments. Just a little soapbox minute, because you can protect the environment as well with a 1-year assessment, in my opinion, as often can with a 2-year assessment. For our water capacity, you'd mentioned that some of the potable water capacity could be increased within the space of the building. Could you expand on that? What does that mean exactly?
So somewhat in the same spirit of what you indicate, to cause us to upgrade faster. The water treatment plant environmental assessment has identified that there may in the future be an ultimate upgrade that requires a building expansion, but that's simply changing some of the equipment within the existing footprint and changing the strainers at the low lift could serve an interim upgrade to get us more than halfway there sooner and less expensively. Consequently, that's sort of an interim concept that we're looking at. And on Thursday night, we're having the first PIC for the water treatment plant EA at Southampton Town Hall. Starts at, I believe, 8 p.m. and anyone can come, and council obviously would be welcome to come and see that discussed in more detail.
Okay, thank you, and thank you for all your work on this.
Thank you. Further questions, Councilor Grace?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks, Matt, and thank you to our consultants for the report. It's very gratifying to see how well prepared we are. The recognition of the work that we still have to do, for instance, in the storage, water storage capacity work, but you know, when we look at some municipalities, even some nearby that have to restrict their future growth because they don't have sufficient infrastructure. This puts us, you know, we're in a very good place, and I think that the public should feel very comfortable with our capacity going forward because we have great plans and we have a great plan for our investment. People, I know, get a lot of questions about water rates and wastewater rates and do we have enough capacity? Are we going to be able to handle all this building that we're doing? And this report shows us our roadmap for how we're going to do that and the plan that we have for this. And so thank you very much for all your work on that.
Thank you. Further comments or questions? Councilor Matt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you. I've said it before that the forefathers of this council who planned our water treatment and water supply systems decades ago did a great job, and they built in their the growth rates. And I'm not sure if they used the same methodology and whether there was EA processes involved at that time, but they certainly built those facilities with expansion in mind. And as was pointed out, the water treatment plant has built-in capacity. The Port Elgin's sewage treatment plant is due for upgrades, but we're still ahead of the curve. And that type of planning, it was very important then, and it's paying off now. And I hope that that when we make these investments, which are considerable investments, second only to maybe pools and ball diamonds, that we take that same methodology and that we plan for 25 and 30 years out so that when the growth does come, and it's obviously we're on a pretty steep growth curve in our community, that the people that come after us will be able to say the same things about us in 25 or 30 years time. Thanks.
The Manager of Operations.
Yes, thank you. And through you, Mr. Mayor, I just want to make one correction from a comment that Director Prentice said. The PIC is from 6 to 8. I think you said 8. And I just want to make sure that it's known that it's from 6 to 8 at the town hall.
Maybe what's the date? Give us the date again.
Thursday's date will be the 27th. So yeah, that's this Thursday
from 6 to 8
at the Southampton Town Hall.
At the town hall. All right. Keep the director on his toes. Are there further questions or comments from members? I just want to reiterate that it's a good report and we have a good plan here that we can use going forward to make sure we have all the water treatment capacity we need. I wondered, I guess, one question, I just keep thinking about the water storage issue, which is probably one of the bigger issues we have to contend with in this planning cycle, certainly one of the more expensive issues to deal with. And so we just built the Port Elgin standpipe, right? I mean, just in the last few years, and it can only less than half of its capacity is available by gravity. The rest has to be pumped. Has something changed about what our expectations around that, like how we're planning or what we need to get out of that system? I'm just confused about why, because we could have built a tower that had all the capacity up high, right? But we didn't do that. Do we have has some standard changed or some set of requirements on our end changed that has required us to increase our capacity by beyond what we expected? Like clearly we designed that thing for capacity, right? And now we have now we have less capacity than we think we need. Can you just clarify how we, maybe just a little bit of a couple paragraphs on how we got to where we are with respect to that?
I can only speculate on how that might have happened, but it would have been planned before the most recent growth surge in the community, for starters. And it was also, it appeared to be a like for like replacement of an existing standpipe of a certain capacity. And if you have an existing standpipe that needs to be replaced, it may be that it was decided to go with a like for like, and budgetary constraints may have been a concern as well. It certainly did help.
So the expectation is, though, that like, what is there about? We're thinking about 13 million in costs for this water storage issue over the coming several years. If I recall correctly, is the expectation that we're going to resolve that by more standpipes, or is it that we're going to increase our pumping capacity?
Since it is a storage issue, you resolve it typically with additional elevated storage. But the Class EA, I don't want to presuppose the outcome. You're supposed to look at all alternatives, including the do nothing alternative, and come to the logical approach after considering all the factors, natural, environmental, economic, and everything else.
But those will be two of the major options. Will be another standpipe or additional pumping capacity.
I think pumping would have to be looked at. I can't think of an alternative that would involve pumping unless you combine it with some additional in-ground storage.
Okay, thanks very much. Is there anything further? If not, you've heard the recommendation. Oh, Councillor Mayette.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm not an expert on these water systems, but I believe the standpipe provides the pressure with the height. The water storage is a ground level tank. Is that not correct?
If you look at page 59 in the report, it shows you how the standpipes provide storage capacity above a certain level within the pipes, and then below that, they don't. It can only be supplied by pumping. So they do provide us with some storage capacity, but not the full volume of the standpipe.
Okay.
Is there, Councillor Mayette, further questions or comments? If not, then all in favor? That's carried. Okay. Thank you. So now we're on to the consent agenda. There is however many items there, four items on that list. Anybody want to vote on any of those separate from the consent agenda? Councillor Grace?
Well, I guess this would require a vote. I'd like to ask for council support on 10.4.5, the Peterborough County Council resolution.
Yeah, and as you, so our practice has been that with respect to the correspondence, we can handle those, so we don't have to worry about that. Anything. So it's really 10.1 through 10.3. Does anybody wish to vote on any of those independently? If not, then the resolution is that items 10.1 through 10.4 be approved and received for information. Is there a mover and seconder? Moved by Halpin, seconded by Mayette. All right, so we'll just walk through them, and if anybody has questions. First one, 2025 Q3 variance to budget. Any questions, comments on that item? Seeing none, then 10.2, Highway 21 and Turner Street intersection improvement project. The Vice Deputy Mayor.
Sorry. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I just want to thank Raul. There he is back there. This is an intersection that's been is going to be welcomed by the people driving their vehicles over that piece of road. It's a busy intersection. There's been so many near misses over the years at Turner Street intersection, and I'm just so pleased to see it happening. And I know the public are really going to be pleased to see it happen. So, just want to thank you for the great work you did on that one.
Yes, we'll get Councillor Mayette and Councillor Halpin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And through you, I think it's a long time coming, is the roundabout at that intersection, because I think the report said there were 7 accidents in the past several years, and thank goodness none of them have been life-threatening or too serious. But if we left it the way it was, it's only a matter of time. I did have one question from a member of the public with regards to the roundabout, and roundabouts are great for vehicular traffic, but they're somewhat tricky for pedestrian traffic. And I looked at the plan, and I guess if you're a pedestrian, you have to kind of cross in the same kind of fashion. You got to go, you can't just go diagonally across, or I'm asking, is it adequately designed for pedestrian traffic?
The manager engineering.
Thank you for the question, and through you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, we will design our roundabout and we will accommodate, try our best to accommodate the public safety at the roundabout. But statistically, roundabout is more safe than lights. I already did my own research and I also checked with our consultant, and roundabout is more safe for pedestrian. Like there is one study that region of Waterloo did recently that actually demonstrated that roundabout significantly safe for pedestrian. We're also checking with our consultant and will make the roundabout safe for the pedestrians. As we are doing 1.8 meter wide bicycle route, we also will accommodate bicycle crossing safe at the roundabout.
That's good to hear. I just imagine looking at the layout, I imagine taking a walker there, and you could get stranded on that little, not the island in the middle, but on the boulevard in the middle. I can see a pedestrian kind of getting stuck at heavy times of traffic. I mean, this isn't the type of traffic that you'd get down in Waterloo, but it's certainly, there are going to be times a day when people are going to have to learn to navigate a little differently than what they're used to. I guess it'll be a learning curve for the people in the area that are pedestrians. So I'm glad to hear that improvements and improved safety is on the agenda. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Halpin.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you. Just the same comments. Everyone I've heard from the public is very, very positive about that roundabout there. And I will mention that the way that it's set up for pedestrians is going to be way, way better than it is now. Because now I think it is really dangerous for pedestrians crossing there. And so I'm quite pleased with that. Can I comment on 10.3 or do I wait after? So yeah, it's great. A lot of good public support for this. Thank you.
Further comments or questions? Yeah, I would just add that it is very positive, and the big part of the reason why this is going to be able to proceed in 2026 is because of $1.35 million from the province of Ontario. Part of a significant number of investments made recently by the province in our local road network. So it's going to be good to see it move forward, make that intersection a heck of a lot safer. 10.3 then, Highway 21, Southampton resurfacing design. Councillor Halpin.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you. I really like the design here. We're going to get some street trees. We're going to get some paved shoulders. We're going to get quite a few additional parking spots, some seasonal spots and permanent spots. So I don't know. I think that this is just a great design and a great layout. So it's just really going to finish off Southampton quite nicely after the High Street.
Yeah, thank you. Councillor Davinsky.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I was just wondering about the intersection of McNabb and Highway 21. Is this a good time to take advantage of putting in a roundabout or a traffic light while this other paving is going on and so on?
We'll put it to the manager engineering.
Many times.
Thank you, and thank you for the question. And through you again, Mr. Mayor, we did try actually for McNabb this year. We recounted the traffic numbers. We are a little bit shy still to warrant a signal. So we may need to wait another 1 or 2 years. And I am very optimistic that by that time we will meet the signal warrant and we can apply for the grant. Just maybe another year or two.
Okay, so I was kind of hoping we could take advantage of it. I didn't think we'd be able to, but it would somewhere along the line save some money because the construction would be underway. Anyway, we'll wait and see what happens in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Further comments? I was just wondering, and this was put to me by the deputy mayor who isn't here tonight, so I'll ask it on her behalf, but she was mentioning the possibility, as we're doing this work, of extending the decorative brickwork from High Street down the blocks, both north and south, to sort of complete the intersection connection of that brickwork that's been done on High Street. And so I just wonder, is there some capacity to work that into this project to because a lot of that right now on both sides, there's not a lot of territory there, but it's asphalt, like the boulevard, if you like, between the sidewalk and the road is asphalt. But it could, if that asphalt could be taken out and converted to that decorative brick just in that lead up in the final block to High Street, can we look at that?
Thank you for the question again. Just one thing we have to consider here, that the grant will not cover any off-road improvements. So if we we can include in the scope, but it will be cost on the town.
Yeah, we could look at it in the same way we looked at the maple leaves in downtown Port Elgin in the intersections. Those weren't covered by the grant. We did a fair bit of work in Port Elgin as part of that project that wasn't covered by the grant. This would be relatively small, I think. I wonder if it's possible. I don't know what the administration can do in the time between moving this forward, but I don't know if it's possible for you to come back with some pricing that council could consider whether it wanted to advance that.
Thank you again. Yes, we can do that. And I have to mention one thing again here. Both the Turner Street intersection and highway resurfacing is subject to final approval from MTO. We have already submitted the design, both design to them, and we just waiting for their approval. And yes, we will get back to council with the numbers for north and south brickwork. Yes.
Okay, and the other, I just wanted to make the point, well, 2 points, I guess. One, this is another one that's made possible by a substantial amount of money from the province. And the second thing is that once this is complete, with the addition of the parking the additional parking that's proposed here, there will be more parking in downtown Southampton than there was before the High Street construction project began. There will be, and I repeat, more parking in downtown Southampton than there has ever been before in the history of Southampton once this is complete. And so that's an important message that all of you can carry with you in all of your social interactions from this day forward. Are there further comments or questions on that? If not, then we'll go on to correspondence. And I know Councillor Grace had one she wanted to speak to there. Councillor Grace?
Yes, I would like to ask council to support the Peterborough County Council communication asking the province to reinstate the eligibility for curbside blue box collection for nonprofits such as food banks. You know, I guess the province has made up its mind at this point, but I am very opposed to their exclusion of businesses and nonprofits, and even places like nursing homes that are for-profit. All of those, I think, should have the blue box collection retained. But at least this is a start, and I'd like our council to support Peterborough's letter to the province.
Thank you. The councillor moves that council support the resolution from Peterborough County on reinstating the eligibility for curbside blue box collection January 1, 2026 for nonprofit organizations. Is there a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Davinsky. Questions or comments on that resolution? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. Councillor Halpin.
Yes, Mayor, through you, 10 on communications, Saugeen Valley. you know, the idea of amalgamating all the authorities and joining us in, it'd be Huron and Lake Superior. I think that this is fixing something that isn't broken. I think it's a solution looking for a problem. Like there's very few advantages to doing something like that. We're going to lose local control over really our conservation authority. I just think it's a bad idea. And Councillor Mayette and I had talked about possibly working with staff to come up with a response to the government on this. The Conservation Authority can't be as frank as we could as individual councillors in discussing this. So that's my comment on it.
Okay. Councillor Mayette?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And further to those remarks, we had a meeting just late last week with the Conservation Authority, and this is just it's amazingly reckless, we believe, on the part of the province to do this. There seems to be no foundation for it. There's no precedent for it. It's making more questions than it's proposing solutions. And so yes, we will be, Councillor Halpin and I will be bringing forward a correspondence that we hope gets some traction around the province, asking for clarity, asking for substantiation for making these changes that are clearly going to degrade from the mission of the conservation authorities that were established 75 years ago this year. So look forward to working with you, Councillor Halpin, and we'll get that to the staff soon enough.
So just so I'm clear, you're working on a response to the ERO posting, and you're going to bring it to council for support. Okay. All right. Any further things on the correspondence? If not, then we will move out of, well, no, I need a vote on the consent agenda. That's been moved and seconded. All in favor? That's carried. Okay, and now we're on to bylaws. And the resolution on bylaw 107-2025 is that bylaw 107-2025 is hereby read, passed, and sealed this 24th day of November 2025. Is there a mover and seconder? Moved by Councillor Halpin, seconded by Councillor Davinsky. Questions or comments? Councillor Grace?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do have a question for our treasurer. If you could clarify, if for some reason, hopefully, we get a large grant for this purpose, how would this affect the terms of this agreement?
Thank you for the question, and through you, Mr. Mayor. So this agreement does not allow for prepayment of the debt. We do have to follow the debt schedule, but there is other debt within our 10-year plan. And if we were to receive a grant for this project, it would increase our reserves and allow us to defer or eliminate other debt in the plan, either by funding projects directly by reserve or through internal borrowing as opposed to external borrowing.
Councillor Grace.
So if the grant was specifically for the AWC, we could still defer it to a reserve for another purpose? Is that, or would it have to be still used in the future for the AWC? If the grant is specifically like for building the AWC, or is that ship sailed? I don't know.
It may depend on the specifics of the grant agreement, but it would still be able to be put to the purpose of the AWC. There is a cash portion that we are putting towards the AWC. There's also the possibility that it could be used to fund the debt payments.
Okay, any further questions on the bylaw? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried. Now, item 16, I have a resolution that bylaw 109-2025, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Town of Saugeen Shores, is hereby read a first read, passed, and sealed this 24th day of November, 2025. Is there a mover and seconder? Moved by Halpin, seconded by Grace. All in favor? That's carried. And finally, a resolution of this regular council meeting of November 24, 2025, hereby adjourns at 8:44 PM. A mover and seconder, please. Councillor Grace and Councillor Davinsky, all in favor. Council stands adjourned. Have a good evening, everybody.